Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the evening of Tuesday, September 19th, and this is for the weekly program that will be tomorrow on September 20th. Well, as you can see, I'm in a different place because I'm at a friend's house, and we will be leaving 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to head to Amsterdam. I am really excited about this workshop in Amsterdam. First of all, it's a little bit different because it's the first time I've been outside of the United States for a workshop, but more than that, I've got about 83 people now registered, and we have them coming from 11 different countries. What's really exciting about this is our ability to be able to reach out, to branch out, and to allow this whole funding issue and project funding to be something that becomes international and not just with us here in the United States. I've told you many times that I have a little over 12,000 people that are on the exchange list. Of that, about 18 to 20% are from outside of the United States. So I just want to say again thank you to all of the people that are so faithful in the listening week in and week out, and the emails that you share with me that are with us, and you tolerate my U.S. biasness, if that's the way to say that. But the reality is most of what happens for us is around what happens here in the United States, and that's where I come from. But I just want to say thank you for the toleration on that. And those of you outside the United States, you seem to be, you understand that. You understand that what it is. And I think for us, those of us here in the United States, we have at times we can be culturally biased because we're so focused on what happens in our country, and we forget what it's like the rest of the areas around the world, and the others. You're far better at that than we are. But thank you for that. So yes, tomorrow morning I will be on the plane, and that does mean there will be no radio program tomorrow night because I'm on the airplane. I have about a 10.5-hour flight from where I change planes in the United States, where we fly from there nonstop into Amsterdam. And I am really looking forward to the workshop that we have there on Saturday. And with that note, folks, yes, 3 weeks after that, I will be in Santa Ana, California for another workshop that is there. Always enjoy coming to Southern California. And again, I get to give more information that is there. But so, with that note, what is happening? What is going on? Well, I've had to basically be very quiet for the last couple weeks. Now, I get that information from my sources that are in deep contact and in touch with what's really going on out there with not only the funding sources, but they're in touch also, or are aware of what's happening from basically what I call the controllers who are in an opposition to this. Now, there's different levels of the controllers, but you've heard me say this many times, is that my phone is always monitored. It's always listened to. And basically what my sources had told me was things are shifting, things are changing, things are moving, and they are aware of the fact that there is logistical, practical steps that are being taken, and their power is being taken away from them, and they're starting to really understand that now and know it. So in essence, it's really got them pissed off. And my sources were saying, you don't want to be constantly coming up on their radar screen at a time that they're kind of pissed off, because they know what's going on, and so you don't want them coming after you. And if you think this isn't real, it was just in the last 2 weeks I was with one of my sources. He's a good friend of mine, and he told me that he now has 2 black vehicles that trace him and follow him everywhere he goes. And I was with him one day. We went out to lunch, and we came out of the restaurant, and boom, there it was, the vehicle that was following us. And he says, that's the one. That's one of them, because I recognize the license plate. This is what's happening. It's important to know and to understand. There's huge opposition to us receiving this funding, and that is one of the reasons why it's taken so long, because it needs to be safe for us. Now, also, in the last couple months, I did have the opportunity to sit down and talk with one of those funding sources. And this is the ones that are in operation of some of these very, very large trusts. I wish you could have been there to experience what I experienced. He pulls out his phone and he starts showing me the pictures of the bunkers and the gold and the stuff that they had. And this individual also is a member of one of you call the Dragon family clans, if we want to call them that. And he says, this has been a part of our clans for over 8,000 years. We go back that long in the collection of all these assets. And here's what was interesting. He says, we are committed to using people to be funding projects all around the world. One of the reasons why it's taken us so long is that, yes, there's been great opposition to us, and like everybody else, though we may have all this money in some of these banks where it is safe, we can't move it through a Federal Reserve, i.e. central banking controlled system. And they're in the process of making remedies to be able to take that happen. But here is an interesting thing. I'm sitting next to this gentleman. He is the signer on one of these large trusts, and he tells me the stories, he shows me the pictures, he gives me actual hard, tangible, incredible evidence that backs up who they are. And then he also then tells me the story that he had recently met with the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world. This is a bank that basically has a lot of their funds in it. And he says, you have more money in our bank than anybody in the world. And I wish I could tell you the other name that they mentioned that they have more money than, but I asked for security reasons, I can't. And then he also had said, I want you to know we've been watching you and following you now for over 1.5 years. We are delighted with what you're doing in bringing all these people in. We're delighted with the fact that you put a spiritual emphasis upon what you are doing. And that is why when funds are ready to be released and we're ready to start funding projects, that we are committed to be using you and your folks in the Sedona connection to start the process. We like what you're doing. We want to set that as a precedence because we absolutely believe that the release of this money is not about people becoming rich and staying in the old paradigms of power and control of this world. This is about releasing funds so we can move forward. We can move forward as a humanity, and we can be working on setting people free from deep poverty all around the world. We can be working on setting people free to help in the infrastructure development. We can be work on getting this money spread out all around the world to be able to help people where they are so they can have a better lifestyle for themselves. And in the discussion then we got talking about the currencies. And he was very frank. He says, we're not going to turn people into super millionaires, but we will help them be financially free. We understand the need for them to be in a place where they are totally free from the need of any money, because it ties in with what I talked about on the recent program a couple weeks ago. It ties into the development of the heart consciousness. We got into a discussion about that, and they got it. They understand it. They know if you want to really shift and change a world, it's not about money, it's about a heart consciousness. That's what creates and shifts the energy. And folks, for you, those of you who are listening to this, if you have not listened to the video that I did a couple weeks ago, and it was the live streaming video from August 30th, I would encourage you, go to my YouTube page, or you can go to my website and you can click on the link that will take you to the YouTube page and watch the live stream video from August 30th. You don't need to listen to the whole thing, because the second half of the program is basically, the callers calling in and back and forth discussions on stuff like that. But if you listen to the first half of it, you're going to listen to about the first hour and 5 minutes of the program. That is going to give you a very, very good, clear picture and an indication of why we are doing this, where we are going with this, and why these funds are coming forward. Myself and the gentleman that I met with and the team that he is a part of, we are all committed to that. That's why we do this. That's why I put an emphasis upon your attending the workshops, because you're attending the workshops is going to help you understand and be a part of these release of funds of why we're doing what we're doing. I'm going to be very, very frank with you. If you are here thinking you're just going to get money to get money, I think you're going to be disappointed. There is going to be an accountability with the release of these funds. And I want to be very, very clear on this statement, because I'm amazed how many of you have misunderstood me. If money is going to be prorationed, if money is going to come out in increments, then, only then, that's the if, I will start with the people who first attended the workshops. In the discussion that I had with the funders, they were fairly clear that that is a very high probability how it is going to happen. They are committed to making sure that these funds are used in a reasonable and a responsible manner. They are not here to pass out money like candy or to be a Santa Claus. That is not their purpose and their intent. It is designed to be released, and in part of how they usually operate, they do this on a step-by-step basis. They will release it to some, they will watch them, they will observe them, they will see what they do with it, they will then observe themselves and make evaluations. Do we need to make any adjustments? And when the first group is done well, then they'll release for another group, and then another group. So there's a very high probability we're not going to see if all 12,000 people come forward. They're not all going to get funded at the same time. That means I have to reduce that list down. And if I do that, then I've been very clear the fact that it will start with those who first have attended the workshops. And that's a couple thousand people. And because they're the ones that have come, they have a clear indication of what's going on. They have a clear sense of vision of what's taking place. They know what is going on here, and they know what needs to take place, and they know what they need to do for themselves. It's important to understand this money is not being passed out like candy or like a Santa Claus. Now, I have said there are 3 different funding sources, and myself and others are very clear that one of those funding sources is cabal oriented. It is controller oriented. And it's interesting is because they never ever talk about the spiritual implications. They never talk about the purpose of the money. It's just give out money. And they are giving out higher sums. But in my estimation, and I've run this by the people that I'm close with, and we're all in agreement on this, it's very likely if you're receiving funding from one of those sources that is a controller cabal oriented source, that it's about power and control, folks. You need to expect there will be some sort of a degree of power and control and manipulation over how you get to use that money and what you get to use it for and what it will be used for. Yes, you'll probably get a lot of money, but with it, to me personally, will continue the various aspects of financial slavery. It's just a different type of a financial slavery. That's the issues. That's the development that's been taking place and going on with all of this. And those are the things that are happening. I highly, highly encourage you to go back and listen to my last 3 programs where I've talked about the shifts and the changes that are taking place with the controllers in their forms and their paradigms of power and control. As you understand that, it will help you through this process of really having a sense of knowing what these funds are for. Yes, the people that I have talked with, the funding sources that have this money, they are committed to making this shift and change, but it's also an internal shift and change. It's not just an external shift and change about money alone. So, with that, I want to thank you again for paying attention to this week, to watching this video this week. I have every intention of being back next week, but if I do, and I am able to do a radio program next week, it'll be from Amsterdam, because we are staying there for about a week. We leave basically the United States on Wednesday morning, tomorrow, and then we come back the following Thursday, which means Wednesday night, U.S. time, I will still be in Amsterdam, getting ready to get on the plane then again. So thank you very much, folks. Love all of you, and would love to see you at some of the upcoming workshops. If you're wondering what's coming up, I've got them all listed on the website. Okay. Love all of you. Okay, bye-bye.